Hello everybody, welcome to my channel Manoj Web, where my goal is to make your HTML and CSS life easier. In today's video, we're going to be having a look at the box sizing CSS property and how you can use it to make your CSS easier. Alright, as you can see on the screen, I have a very basic layout with just a div with a class of box and just a width and height of 300 pixels and a background color of red. And as you can see, I've already attached a box sizing of border box to it. I'll explain what it means in a second. I'll take it off right now just to show you what it would be like without box sizing, and then I'll show you what it's like with box sizing, and then I'll explain what it does basically. So as you can see, I have this box. Its width is going to be 300 pixels and height is going to be 300 pixels as well. If I inspect it, let me see if I can move this to the side. Yes, let's make this a bit bigger. So as you can see, its size is 300 by 300. If I select it, it says 300 by 300. Even though it's a bit hard to see, it says div.box 300 by 300. That's the size. So if I were to add a padding on it, let's say a padding of right, let's say 100 pixels, here's what would happen. It gets bigger on the right side. So the width that you specified is not going to be the width anymore. The actual width is going to be that width plus the padding plus any border size that you have. So as you can see now, it'll say 300 by 300 here, but for the padding it says an extra 100, and so the actual width is 400 and the height is still 300. If I were to add padding bottom, let's say of 100 pixels, it would do the same for the height. So now the height is also 400. If I just did a normal shorthand of padding of 100 pixels on each side, that's going to be like, how much? I can't even see it. Oh, that's 100 on each side, so that's going to be 700 by 700, I believe. No, 500 by 500. I'm bad at math. So as you can see, that can get annoying since you already specified a width and you very likely wanted to stay within that width. So that's what the box sizing property is for. So if you can see, if I add the box sizing property, box sizing of border box, what this does is makes it so the padding and border, it makes it so those, like the width that those take up, count into the width that you specified. It might sound a bit confusing, so let's say I put a padding of 100 pixels. As you can see, nothing changes, but there's 100 pixels for the padding, but the main area just became 100 by 100. Because the width that you specified, that's always going to be the actual width with a border box. The padding that you specified, it's going to be put into the width that you specified. So instead of like 300 by 300 for the main content, it's going to be 100 by 100, and it's going to take 100 pixels on each side either ways. And if I were to add a border right now, of let's say like 5 pixels solid black, as you can see the border is added and the main content is shortened a bit more again to 90, since both sides would take a 5. If I were to change that to something like 6, just like random number, it'll become 88 by 88. So that's how the border box works. It basically allows you to count in your padding and border into your width, actual width. Because in by default, how the browser does your calculates your actual width is it takes the width that you specify, the padding that's added on the object, and the border, and then it adds all of them together to get the actual width. And the same goes for the height. But if you specify it as border box, it just takes the width that you specify and like allocates all the space that you other space that you save within that space. It might be a bit confusing, but I hope the example helped clear it up. So now here's another thing. So whenever you put border box, it only applies to this box, right? So if I were to have like, let's say a div dot cube, wait, one minute, div dot cube, and this is emit, by the way. It works on CodePen because it's pre-installed, but I won't go into detail about that right now. So if I target the cube, I give it the width of 300 pixels, height of 300 pixels, and background of color of yellow. Let's give it a margin of like 10 20 pixels, just so we can see it separated. So now we have that. Let's give it a border radius. So it's actually a cube. 50%. So now it's a whole circle. So now I have this cube, and now if I wanted to put the border box on this, I'd have to specify it again. Box sizing, border box. And that can get a bit annoying sometimes. So what you might want to do is, in order to target, like if you want to specify that for all your elements, you can just do star, and then like star basically means you're targeting all the elements in the DOM. So like every element in there. So whenever you put a new element, you can just it's gonna this star is gonna target that element. So you can just write box sizing a border box, so it targets every single element. You can get rid of this, and you can get rid of this, and it'll still work the same. As you can see, the red didn't change. And if I were to inspect it still, let me see, why is this, what happened to this? Let me inspect it again. Yes, so the box, it's still 300 by 300. Cube is still 300 by 300. Even though if I didn't apply any padding to this, did I? So if I applied padding to this, it would still be the same size. And that's basically how the box sizing works. And that'll be it for today's video, guys. Make sure to hit that subscribe and like button, and see you next time.